Good morning. Let's talk about postpartum, because I feel like that just looks so different for everybody, yet we all kind of go through the same thing. Like we go through this period of, the fourth trimester of what happens when we first start our motherhood or parenthood, but it looks so different. And there's so much that happens, I think, within like emotional growth and like mental state as well. And I thought I'd just share my experience, because I think that's what brings us together, right? Like being able to talk about it and finding things in commonality, I guess, and say like, hey, okay, whoa, I also went through that, and like connect. And I think in a way, personally, I think I'm kind of craving that. For me, my first postpartum was very much anxiety filled. And I think it's a lot was because there's so many unknown things. Right before I found out I was pregnant, my husband and I had moved from California to Tennessee. And so we got to a new state. We didn't know anybody here. And it was right when COVID started. And so things were closed down. And so we didn't go out to like meet anybody to make friends. We were in a new place. Things were kind of closed. And then we found out I was pregnant, which we were so excited about. But we had to find like a new doctor, figure things out. I think I was one of the first like people who became a parent within my friend group from like California and before. And so I don't think I had like a peer example of somebody who had started and how was it going, and really see any part of it. I think in a very silly way, I think I thought, motherhood is just like cute mommies pushing their cute babies in a stroller. Like, oh, how fun. And it is so fun, and it's so great, to go on walks with our kids. But I didn't know, I guess, all the things that are also come as part of it. And I think I'm thankful in a way for social media, because after I had my baby, I got onto like the motherhood algorithm, right? And so you start seeing things where you're able to kind of find relief, I think, in the explanation, because I learned terms there, right? It's like, oh, intrusive thoughts, mental load, right? Touchdown, all of these, and you're like, whoa, these are the ways I've been feeling, but I haven't been able to explain it. And I didn't have a friend to kind of talk about it, because none of my friends were parents quite yet that were super close. Although I did start making some friends after becoming a parent, which I'm so grateful for. But so we had moved, we didn't have like a group or community. We had stopped drinking earlier just to get like a clean and refresh. And so we weren't going out to bars. Things were closed for COVID. And then we had my baby, which I was so excited about. And so I was staying home through pregnancy. And then with my baby, I had a lot of anxiety, which I didn't even know at the time. I think only about 2.5 years later, I had realized, whoa, I've been in a really deep anxiety fog. But you know how you get those intrusive thoughts, right? And I've read that it's for risk aversion, right? So you see each situation happening, is therefore you can figure out how you can best prevent it from happening, right? To keep our kids safe, to keep ourselves safe. But seeing that constantly in your head, where you're just like, oh, I'm glad we didn't fall down the stairs, or I'm glad that we didn't bonk this corner, or, because you see these kind of almost images happening. But that gave me so much anxiety. Like, we have a joke going on in my house. Oh, let's pool noodle it, because I have pool noodles on the counter so nobody bobs their head on the counter. Point I had on like corners, because I was nervous if you hit your head too hard, and just by accident, because like babies just tumble in. But I was so worried. I think because I let those intrusive thoughts win, and I didn't have anyone to filter them through. And I think due to the domino effect of how things happened, I felt really alone in my motherhood postpartum journey the very first time, which is silly, because my first postpartum, I was so anxiety filled, and I put myself on the back burner, and I I didn't know. I was in such a fog and was experiencing a lot. It was so new. Everything was so unknown. But with my son, I it's just so different. I think maybe because I spent so much time worried about everything the first time, that it is, I guess I do know it's going to be okay. And so on certain parts, but it feels a lot easier. My first time around, I would wake up and I was just worried. I didn't want anything bad to happen. You see all these things and these accidents and these stick, because you're like, okay, I gotta make sure I prevent them so they don't happen to my kid, which again, social media, I'm glad that certain things I was able to learn about, right? But, and another aspect, right, it's just an overwhelming amount of information that's coming at you all the time. And it's hard to know what's reliable, what's credible, what's correct, what you're right. So trying to decipher through it, and so there's like a lot of things to consider, but not enough credible places to really pull information from, is where I kind of felt. And then, because through pregnancy I was in, and then postpartum things were still closed, and I just, had a baby. And so we stayed in a lot. We stayed in kind of daily, and we found like ways to do all these fun activities and spend time and really bond, which I'm really grateful for. But I didn't realize that I was kind of isolating myself unintentionally, right? Because like I didn't have any friends in the area, and I wasn't drinking, so I wasn't going out, and I had a baby, so it just, for me, it just kind of made sense, and we were just in all the time. And then even with COVID, we didn't go out, so wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants just became kind of, I don't know, the uniform. And then with a baby, they're spitting up a lot. You got to be washing that a lot, and you're like, I don't want to even do more laundry. And so it's tough in that way, where I think unintentionally, again, I felt really isolated. And then you go on social media, it seems like your friends are kind of, if you're scrolling through, they just kind of keep going. They're still having, and it seemed like time kept going, and my time stopped for a little bit and stood still. And what I think I wish I knew, wow, back then, is that it's okay to rest and to slow down, and like, there's time for everything. And so the first year, if it's possible, right, if you're able to stay home with your children and really soak that in, I mean, what a privilege, what a pleasure, right? And so I wish I knew that. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing. Like, I was like, okay, I got to take care of this baby and make sure I can teach her things and help her. But it took me a sec to also realize, hey, I need to take even 10% of the time for me, not only because I deserve it and I'm a person and I need time, because I was giving 100% to the baby, but also to set a good example for my daughter, right? Because she needs to see that, hey, when she's a mom, she needs to take time for herself, right? Like, to take a shower, to take a bath, to call a friend, to go to the plant shop and get whatever makes you happy. But it took me a really long time to give myself a permission to do things for myself. I felt bad if I took time for me. It's like, oh, well, if I could be with my baby, why would I be choosing something else? And I think that was such a bad way to look at it, because it's not choosing one over the other, right? It's like the saying of, oh, you got to fill your own cup before you can pour into others. And I think this is why I'm doing this. Like, this is for me, my 4 to 6. I wake up early. I'm tired, but like, I get uninterrupted time to be creative, to process, to edit, to work out, to do things I really want to do, and dedicate that time to it uninterrupted. And then, it's like, this is my work day, and then my work week is in the morning, and then my weekend is with my kids, and I just get to enjoy and play and have fun, and I'm not worried of like, oh, I need to get to this thing, I didn't answer that email. I just get it done in my morning block, and then I can just enjoy that time freely. But I think I'm trying to make this a habit, right? Where I'm like, hey, I want to show up for myself. And I think these chit chats is like a way to keep myself accountable for it. that like, hey, no, I need to show up and be with my peers, right? Like instead of just singing like Baba Black Sheep all day long, have these engaging communication to keep my mind stimulated and talking and sharing. And I think I spent such a long time without a community, right? Like just due to the circumstance, like we moved, things were closed, nobody was around, and so it was like I felt isolated and kind of alone. Yet I was always like I didn't know I had that much anxiety about the worrisome, because I'm being so happy with my baby. Just like I loved watching her learn and grow and develop the first words and the first steps and all of that. I think it's so amazing, and I love watching it with my son now. But it's just, I think I want to do this to build my habit to show up for myself, because it's like, this is my time to fill my pitcher so then I can pour onto my kids all day long and spend time just like enjoying myself and less worry. Because I get locked up when I feel like, I'm not doing enough, and I'm working on that to be like, hey, I'm just enough. You're enough. Without having to do anything. And I want to teach my daughter and my son that. And so I want to make sure I'm setting the right example also. But I think postpartum is so difficult because it's so hard to kind of prep somebody for it or talk about it. I mean, you can, and I think now the conversation has opened up a little bit more. People do know what to expect, but it's hard because then if you talk only about postpartum, it just seems like a little bit of the negative part, right? So it makes motherhood almost look bad, but I think there's a place to kind of separate them. You can have a very enjoyable motherhood, just love your kids and love spending every minute with them. But there's also this kind of like, I don't know, it almost feels like, oh, you know what it kind of makes me think of? You know how butterflies come out of a caterpillar chrysalis? Which is so silly because the wings and all of that's inside the caterpillar. So the caterpillar eats, creates this kind of chrysalis that kind of sheds, so it becomes a chrysalis, and then the butterfly comes out. But when the butterfly is kind of growing its wings and doing all of that, the butterflies goes through like a dark period, right? Like they're in a chrysalis, they're working to build their strength, get their wings, but they're in this kind of hard storm of their own. And then when they're finally open up, it's like, whoa, they can fly. I think in a way postpartum is a little bit like that, where it's like, I just need to take my time in my chrysalis, regroup, rethink, because there's so many things that come up when you become a parent. When you think about your own parenthood relationship, how things happen, how do you want to handle things, how do you divide your time and attention, if you have multiple kids, or how do you, for yourself, how do you still fill your cup at the end of the day? I think this is so important to me because I felt like I didn't have any support or community through my postpartum, right? And so I think in a way, I'm so passionate about Paisley's Corner, teaching kids and providing, wholesome educational content that's just like fun and safe, is my way of like trying to be part of the community, trying to help you. Like, I never want somebody to be in a place where I felt so alone. And so it's like, hey, I can't come over and babysit your kids, but here's a show they can watch, and maybe you get a time to get some you time, fill your own cup, right? And I think in a way, because I felt like I had no community prior, but now this community is kind of growing, which is so cool to see. It feels warming. I didn't realize how like alone I think I felt, because it's hard to see it, right? When you're in it, it's like kind of like, hey, I'm in the storm. It's so hard to see past the clouds, past the lightning. But then once things calm, you're like, whoa, okay, I really made it, But it's tough. Plus, there's like the sleep deprivation, right? Where it's like you're up all the time, the baby's relying on you. You gotta be, and it's tough. It's tough when you feel tired. I would say, like, for any it's silly because I'm waking up at 4 a.m. now, but I would say the most important thing through postpartum is to get your sleep however you can. Like, it is silly when they're like, oh, sleep when the baby sleeps, but it's like so many things to get done. But if you can rest when your baby's resting. Like, I think if we sleep, we're more patient. If we're more patient, we have room to just love. And our kids deserve patient parents. And you deserve sleep. I deserve sleep. We all deserve sleep. I should do a rest day tomorrow. But get your sleep as much as you can, and then as much as you can, actually, sleep during day, during night, sleep. We also, I was thinking, it's kind of in a silly way, but like, we play a lot of Zelda at home, and so, well, I think in any video game, there's like, well, in Zelda, there's parts where to get a specific power, you have to go through like a test, right? So it's like, oh, if you need to get the power to fly, you're gonna go through all these tests, then you finally get this power. But to get there, it's like this challenging course, and then you have to beat like the boss of it, right? But what it's really doing is training you and giving you practice to practice that skill. So you become well aware of it, and you do a great job. It gives you practice. But it's really hard getting there because it's something so new. But at the end, so it's like you get this power, you get this other power, then you get this power, and then after all of them, you go beat the big boss, whatever, right? And I think it's kind of similar in real life, where it's to get to the new level, to a new skill, to a new habit, to a new characteristic, right? It takes really sludgy, kind of tough steps to really get to it. But then once you do, you're like, whoa, right? Hindsight 2020, you're like, now looking back, I'm so glad it took this path, because it gave me this practice time to practice being patient, being strong for others, being emotionally connected, right? All these kind of characteristics and skills that we learn. But that's, if you're playing video games, I think that's like a fun way to kind of look at it. Anyways, let me know about your postpartum journey. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to open up the conversations for new moms, for existing moms. And it's silly because with motherhood, it's like first time you have a baby, it's like, oh, your first time being a mom. Second time, it's like, oh, well, you've done it before, but this is your first time being a mom of 2, and being a mom of 3 would be your first time. And so each one takes a little bit of knowledge, takes a little bit of skill. But I hope if you're someone that does or did feel alone, maybe you can find comfort that, like, I did too. And from once we've started this community, right, there's more parents kind of chiming in, which is so cool. You kind of get to see it of like, oh man, there's so many similarities, right? We're not alone. Which is a hard feeling, I think, kind of accepting at a time when you are feeling alone. It's like, oh, it seems like the world's moving on, I feel alone, I'm doing this, right? But it's important, again, to take time for ourselves and fill our own cups, because if we don't and put ourselves on the back burner, again, it can only lead to resentment, which wouldn't be fair to kids, spouse, friends. You deserve time, and you deserve to take it for you, and I hope you do, however it looks like, if it's reading a book, if it's taking a bath, if it's going for a drive, if it's sleeping in a specific day. Do things for you because you matter, and you matter right now. I think I spent a lot of time doing, well, when later, when this and when that, but that changes, there's always a new when. And so I'm trying to be adamant about, okay, if I want to start something, I gotta start it right now, because I won't learn, I won't get time to practice even this. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here and I'm chit-chatting, which I love to chit-chat, and like it just feels friendly. I'm getting the comments, thank you guys, like feels like I'm talking to my friends, which is so cool. So thank you for this community and this support. But I do want to, practice and get better and feel more encouraged and more confident in myself, and learn. I think often with kids, right, I'm always like, they can learn so much. They can learn a new skill so quickly. I'm so blown away by kids' capabilities, right? They're just little sponges, and they are ready, and they are willing, right? They just want to learn. They want to be with you. They want to do what you're doing. But at think somewhere in there I forgot that I'm also learning, right? It's like I stopped going to school, so it seemed like maybe we should stop learning, but there's so many things to learn in whatever aspect. If you want to pick up planting or baking or coding or creating circuits or creating a robot or painting outlets. I have these little dried pressed flowers, and I saw you can like put them on a little outlet cover with some Mod Podge and make like a little cute floral design. So I kind of want to do that because it just sounds fun. So that's why I said outlets. But there's just so much time to learn something new, and I think it'll what a great example for our kids, right? If you're like, hey, I learned this, like, whoa, my parents still learning. Or take time together, like, hey, let's both learn about this, let's learn about that. So, all right, I'm gonna go learn about a couple of things, take some rest, and hang out with my kiddos. I hope you have such a good day. I'd love to hear about your postpartum journey. And then more things to chit chat about. I mean, right? Because it's like each time there's something, it's like a little branch that grows and grows. It's like, and what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And so, all right. I'm going to wrap up. I hope you have a very, 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 very good morning, a very good day. Wishing you all the very best. Bye.